My wife has been cheating on me with multiple partners for the past 2 years and gave me an STD. My wife, 37F, and I, 40M, have been together for 14 years and married for around 10. We have 2 wonderful children, ages 6 and 4. Despite everything, I've always seen her as the most beautiful and intelligent woman I've ever met. She's been my reason to live since the day we got married. Although we faced our share of challenges, we were genuinely happy for a long time. A few years into our marriage, we bought a house that we loved, even though it was far from the city. Life felt perfect, but things changed after my wife became seriously depressed following the birth of our second child. To help her through it, we sold our house, partly because my long commute made it difficult for me to support her at home. She also wanted to return to work, so we rented an apartment closer to the city, just 15 minutes from my workplace. However, the rent was 3 times higher than our previous mortgage payments, which became a massive financial strain, as we were relying solely on my income. Still, I wanted to do whatever I could to help her. Then, just 3 months after moving in, COVID hit, and we were stuck at home. My company switched to work from home, making our move feel pointless. Her depression worsened during the lockdown. She tried different ways to earn money from home, selling online, blogging, even trading, but nothing seemed to work. She enrolled in several courses but didn't complete them. She felt guilty for not being able to contribute financially. I reassured her repeatedly that I would take care of everything until she found something she enjoyed doing, but it was clear she wasn't feeling fulfilled. Once the COVID restrictions started to ease, she signed up for a business seminar that was held periodically either locally or abroad. I found the seminar's content worrying. I listened to recordings from previous events, and while some advice made sense, if you keep doing the same things, you'll get the same results, much of it promoted questionable life choices, like having affairs and focusing on a self-centered lifestyle. Even my wife admitted the content was questionable, but she insisted on attending, saying she could still make valuable business connections and get financial advice. Plus, she loves traveling, which I suspect was one of the major reasons she enjoyed these seminars, especially when they were held in other countries. On the upside, after her first seminar abroad, she returned motivated and ready to start a business. Unfortunately, she also brought COVID back home with her, and we all got sick. Even as our children ran high fevers for days, her primary focus remained on attending the next seminar abroad. I lost my temper, and we had a major argument, but that didn't deter her. She remained committed to going, regardless of the toll it was taking on our family. That year, she went to 4 seminars abroad, leaving me all alone to juggle work, house chores, and childcare for around 2 weeks each time. My kids missed her badly, often crying and asking why their mom wasn't at home for days. Her parents helped sometimes, but it was still tough. They also disapproved of her behavior, and kept constantly saying to me that she was being selfish, that she didn't used to be like this, and that she'd stop at some point. She promised she'd only attend for that year since she had already paid for the seminar's yearly membership fee, which cost over $5,000. The following year, she didn't go, but I could see she was constantly irritated. Despite this, after receiving financial aid from me and her parents, she focused on her business, which started to take off after some struggles, and is not depressed anymore. She also started partially contributing towards our finances as well from this year. Early this year, she mentioned wanting to re-enroll in the seminar. Hearing that just brought back all the tough memories from last time. We argued, but she enrolled anyway, promising to only attend domestic ones, which would take only 2 or 3 days at most. Our relationship has been strained ever since nonetheless. Moreover, she broke that promise and is currently abroad in one of these seminars again, although she arranged some childcare this time. Needless to say, this has been still tough for me and the kids. Recently, she said she feels controlled by me and the kids and sometimes wishes to just leave and live alone. The reason: she loves traveling, the seminar after parties are a lot of fun, and she feels we're in her way to freely live the life she wants. That in reality, there's so much more things she'd like to do, but doesn't because of me and the kids. Just to clarify, other than these seminars, I've never prevented her from doing anything she wants. Honestly, I don't even mind her going abroad at all. I know how much she loves traveling, and I'd be more than happy to take care of the house and the kids, or even go together with her. It's just mentally exhausting to be single parenting alone for days while she goes on to listen to this so-called financial guru. I've been seriously depressed for months because of this. Despite everything, I still love her, but I feel our marriage is falling apart. Thoughts of ending everything once and for all have crossed my mind, but I think about our kids and try to stay strong for them. Update. Recently, I had to go to the urologist for a urinary tract infection, and the test suggested it might be an STD. This was a huge shock because I've never been with anyone other than my wife since we started dating. Right now, she's away at a so-called business seminar. She has been keeping diaries for over a decade, and out of desperation, I read them for the first time ever. It turns out she's been having multiple sexual partners for the past 2 years. In particular, there was one affair that lasted over a year, and it seems part of her irritability was due to her lover moving on to someone else. I also discovered she has a hidden Tinder account too and been meeting with other men regularly. I am devastated beyond words. I feel lost and unsure of what to do, especially since we have 2 little kids who mean the world to me. Update 2. My in-laws kindly offered to look after the kids while my wife was away at her seminar. They remain unaware of the turmoil I've been experiencing. I used this time to go through her diaries and take pictures of their contents. Each entry felt like a stab in the back, leaving me in a state of shock and disbelief. I just don't recognize anymore the person I thought I knew and loved for over a decade. To avoid going into too much detail, the revelations in the diaries would make any movie or TV series I've ever seen pale in comparison. She has been involved with at least 6 different men over the past 2 years. These affairs occurred not only during her so-called seminars but also during short business trips, dinners, and other supposed work-related events. Meanwhile, I was at home, taking care of the kids and naively believing I was supporting her career. Some entries vividly describe how great these encounters were for her, all while expressing gratitude towards me for being a devoted husband and father, without a single trace of remorse. This lack of guilt and the extent of her deception make me question her emotional and mental state. While reading through the diaries, I felt an overwhelming sense of despair and was seriously contemplating harming myself. In the end, I sought refuge with friends for a few days, as I felt I couldn't be alone, otherwise I'd do something irreversible. They really supported me a lot during this time and helped me get in contact with a therapist. I'm now taking regular therapy sessions once per week. They also helped me in getting in touch with lawyers specializing in divorce. I'm also getting treatment for my STD as well. Returning home after picking up the kids from my in-laws was an emotionally devastating experience. I couldn't bring myself to smile at all. At some point, while contemplating all the possible ways I could end my life, my daughter just looked at me and saw my face. Without saying a word, she just came over and wrapped her arms around me. At that moment, I broke down, held her tightly and burst into tears in front of her. She's my sweet angel, and the shame of having considered leaving my kids to suffer under their mother's disdain was almost too much to bear. For the first few weeks after finding out, I could barely sleep at all and had to depend on sleeping pills just to get through the nights. My motivation was at an all-time low, affecting both my home life and my work. I forced myself to continue exercising and found out it was the only thing that actually made me feel better during this time. To whoever said in the previous post that I shouldn't give up on doing exercise, thank you, you may have just saved my life. The stress intensified after my wife returned from her trip. Initially, it took all my energy to hide my disgust at her and the knowledge I had gained about her actions. I've somewhat got used to this now, but it remains emotionally draining. She did notice that something was off, but still appears to believe that I am entirely unaware of what has transpired. Her lack of shame is staggering. Just recently, she asked me to buy her the expensive gift I promised her for our 10-year anniversary, for which I made an excuse to not buy yet, despite her going into another business trip just the day after our anniversary, which was described in extremely painful detail in her diaries. To make matters worse, she was even arranging to meet her latest partner on the day of my birthday. Nowadays I've started to feel a lot better, thanks to exercise and therapy. I had never been to a therapist before in my life, and to be honest, I am regretting not having done it sooner. Despite my wife betraying me in the worst possible way, part of me still thought that maybe all of this was my fault. Maybe if I had done this, if I had put more effort into that, I blamed myself for a lot of things. My therapist helped me see through it that, while I could have done some things differently, in the end, I cannot be held responsible for the actions she chose to take, and no one deserves to be betrayed in the way I was. If I'm at fault for anything, it's for blaming myself for everything, always putting her needs ahead of my own, and trusting her unconditionally without question. While it was extremely hard for me to balance work and looking after the kids alone every time she went on any of these trips, I always let her go after convincing myself that I was doing it for her, to support her business, to let her relieve stress from being at home, that this is what a supportive husband would do, and that if maybe I had a better job or made her happier, she wouldn't feel the need to escape from home. I'd be lying if I said I'm not depressed anymore, but I'm certainly doing much better these days. Nowadays, I feel more rage rather than sadness, and it is the rage that's keeping me going. My therapist advised me to channel this rage into the things I do, which has worked surprisingly well. I talked with 2 law firms about my situation, and was advised to collect more evidence, which I've been devoting myself to for the past few weeks. I've finished digitizing all of her diaries from the past 2 years, which were quite a lot. I got access to her computer, and found just way too many photos, chat conversations and documents to help my case. She's been posting all of her adventures into a very distorted private group in Facebook, to which I've also taken plenty of screenshots of. I've compiled a list of all of her sexual partners in the diaries, and have been identifying them one by one on social media, etc. I've gathered everything I could on her current sexual partners, and managed to figure out where they live and or work. Now I'm debating whether I should confront them or not. The things I've read in these diaries are so bizarre that I thought maybe she was just writing material for some sort of twisted novel, that is, until I found all the other stuff in her computer, etc. Maybe I'm broken myself as well, but a part of me is actually enjoying this process of gathering all these tiny pieces of evidence and information, cross-referencing them with her diaries and finding everything I can about her and her lovers. Part of me wants to see her burn on social media by posting directly everything I've found out, since a big part of her business is centered around social media, but I'm refraining myself from doing so since this would also affect both me and the kids, as well as her parents, who have been nothing but kind to me since we got married. I'm also not sure if I should bring this to light to her parents as well, since this will probably devastate them. I'm planning on confronting her after talking further with the lawyers about how to make sure to gain custody of my kids. The country I live in has a rather unfair tendency of granting custody to the mother, even if she's unfit for it, setting the terms of the divorce and child support. Few weeks ago I was in full despair, and had no idea what to do nor how to approach the situation. Nowadays, I feel that little by little I'm digging myself out of this hole I've been thrown into.